What's going on, guys? It's your boy Kev here, back with another video. You know, tonight we're going over some more NBA prize picks like I do every single Monday to kick it off. I'm going to do these every single day of the week, as you guys know. If you guys are new to the channel and new to prize picks, let me give you a quick rundown as I like to do every video. So prize picks is a daily fantasy sports platform where instead of picking players, you pick the overs and unders on the point projections of players. So for example, if you see Lebron James here at 48, I can take the over or under on that depending on how I think he's going to do, and I pair that with another player, and I can do that 2, 3, 4, or 5 times. Obviously, the more risk you do, the more reward you get. It's kind of like a parlay. But my favorite aspect is that you can do this through different sports too. So I can take the over of LeBron at 48, switch over to NFL, take the over on Brady at 21, and vice versa, and just keep switching them around. So that's one of my favorite aspects, as you guys know. If you do sign up for Prize Picks, please use code DGF. It really helps us out a ton, supports the channel, and we recognize every time you guys do it, we get that notification with your name, and it really means a lot to us, guys. And if you do sign up, I would suggest depositing the full $100, as they like to tell you to do here, because they are running that promo where they'll match your first deposit up to 100% up to $100. So that's something I would consider too. I mean, you can do 10, 20 bucks, whatever you want to do, but I would just say, why not get, a full match at the 100? So you're getting basically 200 bucks to start out, 100 of it for free. So yeah, that's my little spiel, guys, as you know, but, trying to win you some money here. They only give you 8 on that first look every single night, so I like to give you guys a good jumping off point. By the time slate locks, it'll be 30, 40, whatever there is, so I'd like to give you guys a good spot to jump off at, though. So let's start with LeBron James at 48 points, as you can see in the top left. I said under last time for LeBron. I mean, I think he's going to go under again. 48 points is just too high for him right now and how he's playing. Him and AD are both banged up. They're both game time decisions, as they were last week, too. If AB plays, it might change things a little bit, but that being said, I mean, I think they both play, to be honest, how it's looking right now. But that being said, I mean, I don't know if it changes anything. LeBron is hitting under 48 points 75% of his last 12 games. So do the math. It's 9 out of his last 12. It's interesting to me. I mean, it's just not playing at that level we know he can play at, and I don't know if it's just because he's banged up, the whole team's banged up, but I'm going to go under on LeBron. Probably my favorite pick on the slate. I'm going to go over on Young at 44. I said over last Friday, and he nailed it. And, run it back. He's facing the 27th ranked defense against point guards. I mean, 44 for him is not that bad, to be honest. I mean, this is absolutely ridiculous. He's a game time decision right now, and that team is super banged up. But, yeah, I mean, if he plays, I would absolutely smash the over. It's probably my favorite pick on the slate, ironically, because, I mean, he's hit over 44 7 games in a row. And like I said, this is a bottom 5 defense he's playing against. So I definitely think he's super live, and I would hit the over on him as long as he plays, even if he is a little banged up. Moving on to AD. I'm going to avoid him. I avoided him and LeBron last week. This time I'm taking the under on LeBron. I'm going to avoid AD. 40 is just too accurate. Again, I will say if LeBron somehow sits, that is going to sway me a tiny bit over for AD, because last game he did look pretty good, and it's still AD, and I just missing someone like LeBron should swing him in enough favor to the over there, and I will be taking that shift if he does, obviously if he doesn't play. Moving on to Clint Capella at 44 points. This is interesting. I'm going to avoid it personally. I mean, he's, riding that minutes roller coaster right now. He was getting under 30 minutes for like 4 games in a row. And then, and then the next 3 games, he got over 35 minutes. So, big bump. And then right now he's back down to around, 30 in his last 4. I think it was like 30, 30, 35, 30. So, he's pretty consistently around that mark. This has resulted in very inconsistent performances from Clint. So, it's someone I want to avoid. I mean, we've seen him have, big highs and lows, and, he's been on a roller coaster all year with his production. I mean, he's had really bad games early on, then he banged out a couple 50, 60 pointers, and he's like, now it's hard to tell where he's at. So I'm just going to avoid him personally. Moving on to another person I talk about a lot, and I know I told you guys Gordon Hayward was on thin ice after, 2 weeks ago. I avoided him for so long. I finally said take the over. Of course he flops, but I said I would take the over last week again, give him one more chance, just because, to be honest, I really liked his matchup. I liked the projection, and he did well. He hit over, so I can give him some more chances. I'm not going to give him one right now. I don't like the matchup. Top 5 defense, way too accurate of a projection for him at 37. I will be avoiding that. That being said, though, he might be live moving forward, so it's not going to be an instant fade for Gordon Hayward moving forward. Someone I have been kind of instant fading all year is Bam. I don't mind Bam, especially with all the injuries to that team. That being said, even with all of the injuries, he's been pretty subpar compared to what we know he can play like and how his projections have been. So I'm going to avoid him at 41 again. I think I avoided him at, I want to say, I could be wrong, but I want to say he was 44 last time and I still avoided him. So anything around that mark, I'm going to avoid him unless I can see, a change in the projection or a change in his consistency. Even with all those players out, I mean, he should be just snapping, but it's just not happening. So yeah, moving on to Julius Randle. Julius Randle at 44 points is another person I'm going to avoid. I talk about him every time, how just consistent he is, and not in the kind of good way. I mean, consistency is usually good for fantasy sports. We'd like to see that, but this doesn't help us right now. I mean, he has been, within 10 points of this 44-point projection, whether, within 10 points over, 10 points under, in all 10 of his last games. And out of those 10 games I just mentioned, 5 he's been over, 5 he's been under. So that's an absolute nightmare. It's not someone you want to touch. Obviously, that's not a good sign. You want someone consistently hitting over or under, not someone that's splitting every time. So, and the matchup doesn't make it much better. So I will be avoiding him. Moving on to our last pick on the slate, I'm looking at Zach Levine. Zach Levine at 41 points. It's interesting. This was a close one. I will take the slightest of overs here. It is a top 10 defense, and, that's a factor. The Bulls are back to fully healthy. That's a factor. That being said, Levine is so consistent in minutes, usage, and production, so I will take it. You guys know I usually say my mark is about 70%, where I need that person to, baseline, regardless of matchup, regardless of anything else. I need that person to be clearing that projection or falling short of that projection 70% of the time. I need 70% consistency. That is where Zach Levine lies right now. Like I said, 7 of his last 10. So that is, he's close to that line. So I will take the slightest over, but I realize I give you guys a lot of ones to avoid on this slate. So yeah, that's the rundown, guys. I'm going to give you a quick recap. So yeah, slightest over on Levine. Julius Randle, going to avoid, he's just too much over, too much under. Bam, I still don't know where he's at right now. Gordon, I like to see him, back in rotation, but I'm not going to probably end up taking him this time. Clint, I'm going to avoid as well. AD, I'm going to avoid unless LeBron sits, and I'll take the over. Young is my favorite pick on the slate for the over as long as he plays. He is banged up in a game time decision, so do pay attention to that. LeBron, I will take the under on. I feel pretty good about that. Like I said, he's been hitting under about 75% of the time, so I'm not saying you can bank on it, but it is more likely than not. So thank you guys for tuning in. I know TJ and Matt have been absolutely crushing the NBA and the basketball and the Draftkings picks. They'll go live every single night there's a game, guys. So make sure you check their final look videos and their live videos for the most up to date and recent changes that they're going to do. Absolutely, please like, subscribe, and smash that notification bell if you enjoyed the video. I got some more UFC this week. I'm super psyched about it. We got playoff football. I'm going to do a Prizepicks video for that, and I'm sure we're going to do a final look. Maybe we'll get an early look too. I mean, obviously it's not a huge slate. It's one game. But that being said, there's a lot of things we're going to want to cover. So thank you guys for tuning in. And as always, let's cash.